Why is change so damn hard? You can read all the books, you can watch all the podcasts like this, you could go to the seminars, but then you can look back on your life and see seasons change and nothing's changed. You haven't hit those financial goals or whatever goals you have. Why is that? Well, we're going to talk about the unconscious prison you've been putting yourself in this whole time.
This is your invitation. Become the alchemist of your life. You decode your heaven on earth and go through the alchemical process. The alchemist is a master of himself so that he can master life. People thought alchemists were turning lead into gold, but they're really crystallizing their soul into form. Alchemize your golden potential. Welcome to the Golden Life.
Welcome to the Golden Life. My name's David Gilbert, and I'm here to help you become the alchemist of your life. And today, we're going to talk about why lasting change is so hard. And I know you know how it goes, right? You muster the courage, you take the leap, and you go do this thing or whatever that is, but before you know it, you're just back in your old patterns. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Like, what is this invisible force holding you back, keeping you stuck, just making you, once you stay there long enough, you go through the process, and then you're really going to start to question if you're capable of creating the change or maybe even your dreams, right? And today, we're going to uncover the truth behind why you feel stuck and how to finally break free. So this is the second part of a 4-part series of the alchemical journey, where we're going to uncover the process of turning your fears, doubts, and limitations into the gold of love, freedom, and inner peace. And we're talking about the path of the great work of ancient alchemists and how you can embark on this quest yourself. So if you haven't listened to the first episode, the previous episode right before this, I highly recommend starting there because it sets the foundation for the journey we're diving in today. And in this episode, we're really going to explore why lasting change can feel so elusive. Why you might just feel stuck on this treadmill of frustration and or self-doubt, where you have this dream of how you can be better or what you want to create in your life, and you go for it. And then as you're going for it, you're constantly asking if you're capable of it. Or you just feel so afraid you never really make the change. And then you get more frustrated with yourself, and then you stack on the guilt and shame, and then you're just sitting there in regret, full of guilt and shame, having a really shitty day. Excuse my French, but I'm sure you've been there. But most importantly, how do you learn how to uncover what's going on underneath? And this is where we're going to learn that you have to transform the hidden patterns that have been holding you back for years. This is the invitation to become the alchemist of your life, to understand the patterns of transformation or transmutation and apply it to yourself. So what are we talking about? We're talking about bringing your unconscious blocks into the light of your conscious awareness. And this is going to open you up towards true freedom. Have you ever been going through life feeling stuck? I'm sure, right? We're all human. We're all in this limited constraint of what it means in physical reality to be human, to explore challenges and opportunities for growth. But I know for myself, like, you go through a phase where you're ready to make a big leap. Maybe it's that health goal, maybe it's finally start that business, or just what feels like stepping into your potential. But no matter what you do, it feels like you just keep hitting your head against the wall. And you take 2 steps forward, and then something drags you right back. And here's what most people don't tell you, is that you're not fighting the outside world, but you're fighting parts of yourself. And until you can get all parts of yourself on board with the change, you're gonna keep sabotaging your progress. And I've been there myself, where I'd uncover a self-sabotaging pattern and feel empowered to change it, but then out of nowhere, I go for it, and then I find myself just going back to the old tendencies and them creeping back in. And it just felt like no matter how much I wanted to grow or commit myself, something was always pulling me back. So eventually I started asking the deeper questions. Because when you get stuck in that place for a while, this has been a big part of my own journey, you really start questioning yourself, right? You start with, am I capable of greatness? And then you start doubting yourself. You start asking, like, is this potential I feel inside? Is that just an illusion? Am I just making this up because I'm not seeing these results? And then maybe you get further along the journey and you're like, I know this is what I'm here to do, but you're also not seeing the change. And then you start to ask yourself, can I actually make it happen? Am I really capable? And these questions led to one of the most profound experiential insights in my life. And that is, if you're watching this, I'm sure you've watched some Joe Dispenza or The Secret, or learned how the process of manifestation is feeling it and being it, and it's going to start to show up in your life. Yet the truth is, you can do that. You can start to shift internally. But if you don't acknowledge your unconscious prison, aka the beliefs that are holding you back, they're always going to get in the way. You're never going to be able to create lasting change outside of that prison. And even then, you can sometimes start to uncover them, at least you think you do. And you're like, oh, I have this limiting belief and I'm going to install a new one. Well, until you really break through, until you really transmute that limiting belief into love or into your fuel of becoming, it's just going to keep you stuck. And we build up these walls from our fears, from our limiting beliefs, and these old stories where our brains just like to hold the evidence of the past, and it loves to focus on where we do things wrong, and will project that into the future. But here's the kicker. Those walls that we put ourselves in, just for the sake of being human, as part of being human, are invisible. You can't see them because they're so buried in your subconscious mind. And that's where it helps doing reflective exercises, like I'll share some later in this episode, or it helps having an expert who's an expert in reflecting back your beliefs so that you can break through them. And until you can bring those subconscious patterns into the light of your conscious awareness, no amount of effort or willpower to create lasting change is going to work. It's like trying to run a race with a weight tied to your leg. You'll never reach your full potential until you cut that cord of that belief. And you might just end up running in circles. Actually, that's what you will do, thinking you're getting somewhere. So once you do that, everything will start to change. But this is where so many people, even people I take, through this process, they'll have a limiting belief of I'm not worthy, or let's say I'm not capable. And then they just go to the opposite. I'm capable. Yet they start to acknowledge the limiting belief, but they don't go through the whole process of transmutation. But once you go through that process of transmutation, you take something like I'm not capable, and let's say I'm not worthy, and then you go through your whole life story and understand the sacred treasure of that limiting belief is your opportunity to give you the full fuel to show up in an entire new way in life that gives you fulfillment, passion, and purpose. Right? So if you're not worthy, one client I took through changed her belief to I contribute. And you could see, if you really let that settle in, I'm not worthy versus I contribute. And then you even put that on like a scale of I'm worthy versus I contribute. For her, that is one of the most powerful ways she could show up that completely shatters this polarity that you're playing on this same timeline of am I worthy, am I not worthy, am I worthy, am I not worthy? Instead of breaking through and turning that into gold of a way that you can show up as a being in the universe. So when you can really start to transmute your limiting beliefs, this is what it means to become the alchemist of your life, somebody who can transform themselves, and it starts with the deepest layers. Well, that's when you're going to start to access your inner gold, right? You're going to start to turn your lead into gold, and you're going to start to have the courage, the confidence, the clarity to really create the life that you dreamed of. And I know for myself, I've always been into fitness, and there's been a long period where I'd say my body didn't quite show my dedication to fitness. But the more that I transmuted the deeper seated beliefs inside and just the lead that I had, after that process, I was able to just create the results externally with way more ease. No matter how hard I tried before, I'd always fall back in my old ways. Whereas now it really became effortless because I don't have that internal resistance. So this is all to share. The first lesson of the alchemical journey is your transformation begins with awareness. You can't change what you don't acknowledge. And your subconscious mind is constantly running patterns. Like I've shared in a past episode, our brains are built to run on patterns because that helps us use energy efficiently. And we just gain these patterns, whether it's through childhood, whether it's what we pick up from society, or just patterns that help keep us safe, or at least feeling safe, a survival mechanism. And these are the same patterns are the reason you're feeling stuck. You just haven't fully discovered these patterns yet. So the first step is to stop running and start observing. And I'll just ask you right now, what are the stories you're telling yourself? Is it I'm not good enough? Or maybe I don't deserve success? Or you're constantly asking, what if I fail? If you are going for it. And you can start to acknowledge that the stories are just that, stories. To use the words of a mentor, we're all just walking conversations. But they're not the truth. And the moment you shine the light of awareness on them, they begin to lose the power over you. Especially when you bring them up to the light of truth. So here's a simple exercise to help you through the process. Number one, I want you to think about an area in life where you feel stuck. And as you get that area of life, number two, ask yourself, what's the story I'm telling myself about this? And then number three, write it down. When you see it on paper, you begin to recognize it for what it is, a belief, not a fact. And as you do this process, you're going to start to realize that your patterns that hold you back are not your enemy. They are just a behavior adaptation through some experiences you had through life in order to help you survive. And the resistance you feel is you trying to take the leap into the next version of yourself, but you're still living with these old patterns. So that's where you get to reframe this, to realize the patterns are your lead. They are your guide to jump into, to show you where there's healing that is needed, to show you where you have an opportunity for growth, and to really show you where your greatest power lies. So I want you to shift your focus jumping into these patterns. The resistance you feel when you try to change isn't there to stop you. It's there to teach you. So it's showing you where you need to dig a little deeper, where you need to face some fears, and where you are being called to transform, to step into that next version of greatness for yourself. And this is the heart of the alchemical journey, of embracing the shadow parts of yourself, of all parts of yourself, and transforming them into the gold of your highest potential. Literally taking the shadow and transmuting it, alchemizing it into your golden potential. But until you do this, change will always feel temporary. But once you do, you will unlock a power within you that nobody can take away. So I'm going to leave you with a challenge for today. Take 5 minutes and reflect on where you feel stuck. Ask yourself, what's the story I've been telling myself about this? And then write it down. And you will have taken the first step towards your hero's journey, towards uncovering those unconscious beliefs that are keeping you in a subconscious prison. And this is metaphorically turning on the light in a dark room. And you'll start to realize the shadows aren't as scary as you thought they were. And then if you're ready to go deeper, well, join me in the next episode. Or if you're like, David, I'm all in. Let's get started on this alchemical journey. I'm tired of not living in my potential. I'm ready to transmute these limiting beliefs. Well, go grab a copy of The Alchemical Journey, the ultimate quest for inner gold. You could find the link in the show notes below, and that is going to put you on the path immediately. But until then, in the next episode, we're going to dive deeper into the alchemical process of transmutation. How to take not only those fears and stories and turn them into the gold of courage, freedom, and self-belief, but once you get a little bit further along the journey, what happens when you start to see things not happening in the external world? Maybe instead of your beliefs, you start blaming others, and how to work through that process. So I'll leave you with this again. Remember, the gold you seek is already within you. All you have to do is commit to beginning this journey and then take the next right step. I'll see you in the next episode.